Nick Burns, welcome to the Marketing for Business podcast.
Great to be here.
Mate, this is going to be an awesome chat. Like, I don't know, how long have we known each other?
Gosh.
Through we're family at some degree,
Absolutely.
like through my dad and my stepmom.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like we've known each other for a long time. We've always had some really good business chats, and we've also kind of bonded over probably craft beer.
Well, absolutely. One of my pillars of life, craft beer. I've added gin to the repertoire as well.
Well, there we go. So same.
Yeah.
I know. From a business perspective, you've built up a business, exited for a lot of money. You've invested in other businesses. Now you're actually helping people. So there's going to be a lot. Like we on the podcast, we talk to business owners. Business owners out there doing the whacking and the cracking.
Yeah.
Some of the things I think is going to be quite inspirational for people today listening is your involvement in the operational side of tech businesses, but also your selling ability and your mindset. I think that's one of the key things. So I really appreciate you coming on today.
Oh, thanks. It's great to be here.
And look, we're remarkable fans as well.
Oh, just love this. We're salespeople for. Got to get a remarkable.
You got to get a remarkable. Save the world, save paper,
That's
and
it.
Hey, so where did things start out for you? Like, were you always interested in business, or what was your kind of pathway?
Not really, actually.
Yep.
Funny enough, sales is. People think of it as a right brain sort of creative thing. I was a numbers guy, black and white.
Oh, really?
There had to be an answer. So after uni,
what did you go to uni and do?
So Canterbury, I did business administration.
Yep.
Had a hell of a lot of fun doing it with my mates. And I enjoyed UC. It was great. And then I was really grateful now. I signed up for a graduate scheme, and I'm not sure how many sort of large companies still do that now, but I went with New Zealand Post.
Oh, wow.
And you think of Post now. It's well, back then it was still when logistics and mail volumes were growing, and New Zealand had quite a reputation.
It was massive, right?
This is, so think pre-internet, sort of just as
I actually interviewed Mike Jury on the podcast as
well.
well.
Great guy. Great guy, Mike.
As well.
Yes. So that's where it all started.
So what was a graduate scheme? Just because we have some younger viewers, they won't have a clue what we're talking about.
Yeah. What it is it's get your hands dirty, Scott. So they take you right through all parts of the business, so you get a taste of...
Kind of like an apprenticeship, but in a corporate...
Yes, and in this case, because it had a operational environment, I was getting my hands dirty.
Yeah, nice.
So I was sorting mail, out in trucks, throwing mail into the planes, and funny story there, they knew it was the graduate, so they put me in the flying pencil, and they threw the bag so fast I couldn't keep up. I got a black eye.
Oh,
that was just one of those little wee lessons.
Rite of passage.
That's it, indeed. Yes. So, but no, I was so grateful for that, and so just real big lesson in my life was you've got to get your hands dirty and do it. There's no easy sort of theoretical way.
Yeah, true.
And so. And then, relatively early, they sent me offshore. So New Zealand is great at taking things to the world. Post was no different. That was when there was a lot of modernisation, I guess, going on. A lot of tech coming in, optical character recognition, all that sort of stuff. And New Zealand had a reputation for being really good at that.
Cool.
So I was fortunate, early mid-20s, to go off to South Africa.
Oh, wow.
And then lived in Malaysia for 2 years.
Wow. So South Africa for a year?
Yep.
And what were you doing?
So I was consulting. Yep. So I was in Pretoria.
Yep.
And working in the region there. Yep. Sort of operational best practice consulting.
Wow. How old were you?
24.
Brilliant.
So that in itself, when you've got, I guess, some leaders that have been around for a while, having a young buck come along, was a challenge in its own right. Yeah. So I think I grew up pretty quick. And
South Africa would have been back in. They're pretty robust people, right?
Absolutely.
Kiwi,
and I was dealing with, respectfully, a good Boer South African, who Afrikaans first language, and so that
What did you learn about, like, I guess, connecting with people and teaching people? Because at the end of the day, you had an expertise level, like, and we were leading the way there. How were you marrying the two up with people skills?
And it's similar to sales. It's just getting to know people before you deliver your message. And just basic stuff. So whilst we had to move quickly because, they were paying commercially for it, I don't know, I just learned really early that first rule was just get on the same level.
Yeah, nice.
And
rugby, sport,
cricket,
all that type of stuff. Right?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife would be watching from afar, very nervous because it was in this sort of Mandela era of when he was just started as president, and she thought things looked really bad there. And I was having a ball of a time. They treated me like a king.
Isn't it amazing? People on the ground versus what you see. I always remember going to Ireland back in '96, and there'd been bombings in London, etc. And people were like, "Don't go there, don't go there, get there." And it's like, well, what was actually happening? Like it was. There was a lot in the media still. That was a lot of fear.
That's it. That sells, doesn't it? But I mean, big thing there was just I take my hands dirty stuff, master my craft through teaching.
Yeah, nice.
So, and from there, went to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Wow.
For 2 years.
2 years.
And I worked with a great project lead there, and sadly he had to leave the project after 3 or 4 months. I was put in the leadership role.
Nice.
So mid-20s, that was real sink or swim stuff.
And so New Zealand Post obviously had some IP there. And you were teaching that IP to these other countries. How exciting is that? Like you just don't. They're golden opportunities, right?
They are. Yeah. So a lot of people do their OE and shoot off, and they might get in a job to pay for their travel, for example. I'm fortunate that at a relatively young age it was actually some foundations for what came next.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what like, if you're looking back, what are some of the big takeaways that you learned, being in that young age and going and doing those?
Well, big one, and it comes up in sales a lot, it's people to people. So I had to talk to boards and CEOs, and that fear. Sometimes you place people on different levels, and you create this barrier that's actually not there.
Not there.
So
and it's not. Good.
And so now, people are people. They've all got ups and downs in their lives, and so that at a young age, I think, really helped me with my confidence.
Yeah, what a great skill to learn too, right? Because so often you put people on pedestals, but actually when you get to know them, they're just normal people.
They are,
and actually they're grateful for your help.
That's it.
They're keen to teach you, and that type of stuff. You always meet some people that are rough on the outside too. But at the end of the day, they haven't got to where they are just by being.
No, and I guess another thing there is strategy. So listening, and I'm a practitioner, I guess, but just watching strategy at work, the bigger picture, just how important it is. You need both, right? You've got to have a good solid strategy, but you've got to execute as well. So being across both of those was great.
I think listening's kind of a lost art with some people these days. Like most people are listening to reply versus listening to understand. And I think maybe were you finding, like, because of the language barrier, you were listening to understand a bit more?
Yes, absolutely. Deep. You've hit on something really important there. And it's one of my favourite sort of sales techniques, actually. I might have talked to you about it, actually, is clean sheet selling.
That's right. Yeah, we'll talk about that as we talk.
Can come back to that. But what you've just said is, I think, that having to listen to understand is the real fundamental to it.
Yeah, and especially if you're trying to learn a language or trying to understand people, that would have been definitely a challenge, and probably a challenge for them as well, right? So from there you spent 3 years doing that, and then what happens? Like you
come home.
Yep. So as part of a program, you're put there for 3 years. Like were you told you're going for 5?
No. Actually, the South Africa was originally 3 months and then got extended.
Okay.
Whereas Malaysia was a 2-year program.
Oh wow!
And
cool.
and I was fortunate when I started Emendo, which we'll talk about. Needed some money as you do as a startup. One of my gigs was they got me back, so I went back to KL to Malaysia.
Brilliant.
Sort of 10 years later or 5 years later, and saw the progress. So that was cool. Yeah.
So what did you do from there? Like you come back to New Zealand?
Yep.
And you're still working for New Zealand Post?
Yep. I got my hands dirty again, but it took me about a year to really settle back in to New Zealand life.
Did you find it a wee bit slower?
No, absolutely, and also, I guess you've developed your mental level. So I always knew I had to do something new.
Yep.
So through my mentor, I jumped into healthcare and started applying some of the same principles I was teaching in logistics to another sector.
Why healthcare?
Because my mentor was about sort of guided me, I guess, through.
Cool.
And that's another important thing, having people who've got your back.
Yeah.
So, and I'm really grateful for that because out of that experience, again, getting my hands dirty.
So what did you start doing? You started, because you were operational.
I was an operations advisor.
How to make it more efficient, type of stuff.
So we were looking at where the bottlenecks were, those sort of things in hospitals. And it was similar to, the logistics. The principles we were applying in a complex logistic environment. And from that emanated, we're repeating ourselves.
Started to see some patterns.
This could be a business.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I did. And,
wow.
And I'm one of those people who sort of runs to fear.
Yep.
You've got two choices, as you know. You can run from it or run to it. Yeah. So I quit my job.
Nice.
Didn't talk to my wife.
I was going to say, how did that go down with Donna?
Well, yes, we're still married all these years later, but I just didn't give ourselves choice. I did it on Christmas Eve, actually. I just resigned. I didn't have work at that point, but I had a vision of what I wanted to do. So I started hustling. And
so you said you had a vision. What was it written down? Was it like in your head? Like what?
A bit of both.
You obviously had some thoughts and runs on the board though, because you see what you're doing. You've got skill, right? So you got skill in the game. You can. Did you start to see the gap and where you could fill that gap? Is that where you started to go?
And I think also in respectfully quite a political environment, and this might be important for any listeners, working with government, for example, is often politics can get in the way of what seems a really obvious thing to do. So,
because of agendas, right?
Absolutely, and
sit in the boardroom all the time.
And yes, indeed, status quo is often the preferred end option. So I actually realised that coming from outside back in might be easier than trying to do it from the inside.
True. Yeah.
So
nice.
And that is ultimately how it played out.
So the mindset there though, they're running towards fear versus running away from it, right? A lot of people will run away from it. It takes a special kind of person to, I'm going to run towards it. Where did that come from? What were you doing that to get your head in the game? Because it's natural to, we are born to run away from fear.
I think in my sort of black and white numbers days, I think perfectionism was playing a role there. So I always had to be at the top of my game, get it right. Very much what's next. So I know one of your big mantras is celebrate success.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know if I did that enough because I was always looking
for the next thing.
That sort of inherent sort of behaviour was in me.
Yeah.
So that I would just take on challenges. Someone asked me to speak, I'll speak.
Speak, yeah.
You know?
Just say yes.
Just say yes.
Yeah.
Worry about it later.
Yeah, perfect. Told my wife that recently. She's got a speaking gig.
Yeah. And the more you do it,
yeah,
the more you get used to it. And yes, you're always nervous, but I love it. I love those challenges.
You have to put yourself in those situations to feel uncomfortable, right? You have to get used to feeling uncomfortable to actually end up being comfortable.
Well, you're not going to grow.
No, and it's real easy to just not grow, right? So so you ran towards the fair. You resigned on Christmas Eve. That would have been a fun Christmas, like.
Yeah, well, and then I just hustled my ass off, and this is the power of networks, or all of that stuff, and got myself some gigs back in the logistics industry. Surprise, surprise.
Did you know you had to quit so you could give yourself some space to create?
Correct.
Yeah. So you're doing that over there, but you're really working on this thing.
That's it. Yeah. And then you had to balance getting enough money on the table because I had 2 young kids, mortgage to pay, whilst giving yourself enough time and space to grow out that vision.
Do you think if you stayed at the job and do you ever look back and go, what if I just stayed there and maybe would have created it anyway, or is it you had to burn that bridge and just go?
No, had to burn the bridge.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I did the same. And you have to, eh?
Oh.
I remember vividly.
Don't die a what if person.
I remember going down to Wanaka, and I remember drawing a line in the sand on the side of the lake here, and stepping over it, and ringing my boss and saying, I have to resign. He was like, no, you can't. I said, no, I'm resigning. He goes, no, you can't. You're not listening to me. I said, well, you're not listening to me. I'm resigning. He said, no, I'm going to resign in 2 weeks' time. You have to stay because you're going to get my job. And I was like, I don't want your job. I don't want your job.
Yeah.
You know? And but it was like you had to make that, you had to burn it and then go, and never look back.
No, absolutely. And I had a little napkin. I'd sat with my brother-in-law in Brisbane. We'd gone over for a long weekend over a beer, and I drew my vision on that napkin.
Brilliant.
Still got it to this day.
Brilliant.
And then I created a document. I went around a few companies already in healthcare because it was a health tech play that I was, and got a lot of smugs and smirks and all of that rejection. But just kept persisting.
And what was the vision? Like, did you have did you want to be the such and such supplier to?
Yeah. So I had this vision of one coordinated health system, and again, I appreciate there's lots of politics, but all of the we could optimise all of this expensive resources we've got with a small country we've got. And I had this vision of this is from a logistics flow point of view, of this sort of like a control room, looking at all of the inputs and flows and being able to say, well, if we did this, and then using some mathematical techniques to say if we changed our theatre schedules this way, this is how we could, given what was happening in other parts, this is how we could ultimately get more patients through the system with the money we've got. And I know that's idealistic, and there's a whole lot of other big challenges that healthcare professionals are across, but that was sort of from a logistics point of view. That was the vision.
So you got your vision. Now what do? You going out? Selling it.
So Nelson Marlborough. In the DHB days, gave us a consulting gig. A former manager at Auckland DHB became CEO of Auckland. DHB had some logistics sort of challenges in a particular area, so I started getting these bits and pieces of gigs. Then I'm wandering on New Brighton Beach, and I bump into a guy from the Netherlands, gentleman by the name of Bart Vischer. Just one of the. He'd recently come to New Zealand with his wife, who worked for an immigration business.
Did you know Bart?
No. No. He is trained in logistics, worked in hospitals.
Wow.
So, that's that serendipity.
Yeah, totally.
And so Bart and I talked. He came and worked for me for free.
Yep.
And then he ended up winding the clock forward. We sat there with a wine, actually, not a beer, at his place, worked out the name of the company, and him and I went into business together.
Wow.
I had 85%, he had 15%, and we went from there.
Yeah.
Because it was my idea.
Yeah. New Brighton Beach.
Yeah.
How good is that?
Yeah. It was meant to happen.
Yeah.
There's something, I don't know, it might sound a bit spiritual about it.
Yeah, well, hey, look, like that happens, right? And you've got to just go with it, right?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, great people come together with good ideas and good intention, and that's the difference, right?
And from there, he was very much, he wanted to build stuff, the inward sort of technical stuff, and that's where I fell into sales.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and so I did the outward bits.
So what was your company called?
Emendo, E-M-E-N-D-O, and that's all part of a Latin phrase for to improve.
Oh,
so
cool.
Back to the vision.
Yeah.
So funny, we ended up on TVNZ there and radio and a few other, and people couldn't pronounce the name of the company, so I learned pretty quickly. And I'd be talking to someone in the US or something, Emendo, and all of these different. I just didn't. You can't take it personally. I thought it was quite funny, but a lesson there about keep it simple.
Keep it simple, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So you started getting these gigs. You got a company now. You got some traction. You're in sales. Did you see, were you getting traction in the New Zealand market, or did you say, there's a bigger play here?
So another lesson there is internal advocacy, and really important within, the big companies and the likes of the public sector. And I was very fortunate that here in Canterbury there was someone who had the same vision.
Nice.
So over a course of a couple of years, we ended up negotiating a win-win deal.
Nice.
And it's got to be win-win, eh?
Yeah, totally.
Everything's got to be win-win.
So that was in Christchurch?
Yep.
Nice.
And the way it worked was they would pay for the development of the software.
Yep.
We owned it.
Nice.
Win-win. But we would, over a certain period, we would pay them back.
Brilliant.
So
you kind of got paid to learn, do,
and also we didn't end up. It was an investment.
Yeah.
So that public money came back from offshore.
Because also, exactly. But also, the hospitals, they have a real problem with around logistics, right? Like you were solving a real problem here. And making them more efficient, which was, end of the day, helping more people and save more lives, right? It's a kind of a bigger picture. That's a pretty cool that someone had that same vision. They could see, things aren't running as well as they could be. Hey, here's some guys that actually know what they're talking about. Let's help them.
Yep. So, and from there, we became an international company. Yeah. So our second client was in Australia. Yep. A partner hospital with Canterbury.
And how were you picking those up? Were you just building relationships, or
relationships?
How was it? Hey, by the way, we're doing this. Who do you know?
Yeah, no, absolute. And one of the, I often say to clients, people are scared of cold selling. Who knows who knows who you want to talk to? Yeah. And LinkedIn, classic one. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's there for, right? Yeah. You can. I wouldn't be the greatest, just despite my apparent self-confidence. I wouldn't be the greatest cold caller. I always look for a connection and get a friendly introduction.
Well, I think that's a better way to do business too. Yep. You have a different level of business when you do that. Yeah.
And you don't just get any Tom, Dick, and Harry to recommend you. It's, you've got a good. They will willingly introduce you. Yeah, and that's about depth of connection versus width of connection, building relationships really skillfully over the years. And also, I said to my team the other day, doing what you say you're going to do, right? If you say you're going to send an email, send the email. If you say you're going to go meet someone, go meet someone. If you say you're going to follow up, go follow up. There's all those little things that stack in people's minds, Trust.
Trust.
Yeah, integrity. Yeah. Absolutely.
You got to do it, right? Because a lot of people will say something and then not do it. Yep. And then it's like, okay, you're one of those people. Yeah. So I'm not going to refer that, Cool. So into Australia, that must have been exciting, right?
Very exciting, yeah. Yeah, and just like I said, stumbled into it.
When did you know that when did you know you really thought, hey, we've got a business here, like this is, people want to buy this product? Like, was there a point where you just went, geez, this is going to be going good?
Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah.
So I always sort of try to work on, if you can get sort of at least 3 clients, you know, we're talking B2B here, big stuff.
Yeah.
That gives you a level of credibility, because the market buys off the market.
Yeah.
Another one of my favourite sort of learnings, that who's using it, how many times, you know, do you're pitching for new business.
So credibility.
And if you can have multiple customers who will be honest but talk for you, they'll sell for you.
Yeah.
One of the beautiful things with Canterbury DHB is they helped us around the world.
Yeah, that's so good.
I mean, we paid for the traveller course, but I would sit in a meeting in Canada and I'd sort of manage the process. So do the intro, and then I wouldn't talk to the end of the meeting to, right, where are we going with this? And it would just be a peer-on-peer conversation, not a vendor.
Because they know what the problems they have, and this is what these guys are doing.
That's it.
I always really, one of my core philosophies is get known by the success of your clients. You know, if you do a good job for that client, then that client can go talk to that person, and
they will buy off your client, not you.
Yeah.
So
that was pretty cool to be able to do that, right? Like, obviously, you know, if you're good at what you do, you can do that, right? But even, you know, like, still, it must be a cool feeling to sit there and
And so back to your question, we with software, you dig a hole, right? And unless you go for, I guess, the American style of capital, where you get a big, go big early and build a team and be funded. We did the classic bootstrap. We got 2 rounds. We did the family and friends, followed by 2 rounds of sort of angel level, and not massive. You know, we'd not in the millions. You know, only the hundreds of thousands were invested in the business.
Is that because that's all you needed? Like,
wow. I mean, naturally, we would have wanted more, and actually at the end of our exit story came about because we actually did need millions at that point.
It is an interesting point, though, because you do read of these companies that make it through having, you know, lots of venture capital, but there's a bunch of them that don't, because all of a sudden they have money but no hunger.
Well, the comfort, and I know some have really succeeded under that model, but it's back to that fear thing.
Yeah.
You know, I can tell you many Friday nights I'm awake thinking we've got to pay people on Tuesday. We've got no money.
Yeah.
Many of those.
And how were you handling that? Like, were you
it's
just...
same shit, more, excuse my French,
did you
did
you kind of just build that resilience up?
You do.
No
Absolutely.
Worry, we'll get through this.
Yeah.
That
people say, oh, when is we get through this hard phase, and then it's going to become easier. It's the same shit, more of it.
Yeah,
with
business
more zeros.
and exactly. And business is like that too. It's not. Business, I find, is definitely not for the faint-hearted. Right? No. It's not. You know, there's loads of stuff. You're kind of like a duck when you're out.
Spot on.
Yeah. But if you watch a duck under the water, it's crazy.
But
right?
the thing is, often the market can't see you under the water.
No.
So if you can be professional, or your integrity, as you talked about earlier, above the water.
And you're going like mad underneath.
That's
it, right? Because you know where you're going, you know what you got to do.
That's it.
You know why you want to do it. And I think that's, you know, with that vision comes that why and the purpose, and then you just, you know, you're not letting anything else stop you. So, so you've got some friends and some family, and how was that from an investment point of view? Like, was it, because, you know, I always find it when money's involved with family and all that sort of stuff, was it like you're just giving Nick the money and don't ask Nick the questions?
Yes,
in on the picture?
Predominantly, that was how it was. And you know, a lot of the feedback was, look, we're happy to, we back you, believe in you. There's no, I think we got quite a good ride with that.
That's awesome.
To be fair, we we're always growing.
You weren't showy with it though either,
no,
right? And that's one of the key
not.
things as well. Like people can get some money and all of a sudden be really showy.
No. I mean, I ended up selling our house before exit.
Wow.
So I did not. The only assets I had was paper. And you know what a bank thinks of a small private company about that.
Yes.
So failure was not an option.
So were you setting the business up for sale? Like, did you know that was going to come to a point? Like, were you kind of going, hey?
I think a mix of that and tiredness. It was sort of a 10-year official journey, but for me it was like 12, 13, 14.
Yeah.
And
Bart still in the business the whole way through? Like, is he?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I actually wanted to stay, but just it was clear, often happens, and nothing wrong, but culturally, that wasn't going to work. But I did stay for 3 years. After
that's cool.
The sale.
So how did you you obviously started to build up at the business? You got clients internationally. You're getting more invested. And the investment money, what are you using that for? Just purely for growth into, or you're building the software stuff?
A bit of both, but I think the further through you can get to investing in growth, the better it is.
Being a numbers guy, had you worked out the numbers of what it cost you to get a client on board, like your big B2Bs?
To a degree, yeah. Ironically, I do a lot more of that with clients now than what we did. But no, we were very well run, particularly with the help of our second and third round investors, who I brought a level of professionalism to the game.
That's exciting though. Like you've got a tiger by the tail. Now you've got some investors, and so starting to get attention from some bigger companies that's saying, "Hey, what are you guys up to?" Do those conversations start flowing?
Absolutely. And
were you pushing people off or going, "No, not yet"?
No, I was very much sell now, worry later.
Primo.
That was me, and that scared the living daylights out of technical people.
Yeah, they would have too. Right?
I can tell you many stories of being
sell now,
in a hospital in Melbourne, Royal Melbourne, for example, and go to do a demo and it's not working.
Yeah.
And outside, sort of on the call back to Christchurch, panicking, but that's just...
Think on your feet, bars.
That's it, what you do.
Yeah, cool. It's it's kind of like the Kiwi way too, right? But at the same time, you have to have... What were you doing to get... I'll come back to your mindset, because were you reading like books then? How were you really sharpening your sword? Because, waking up on a Friday and going, geez, where am I going to get payroll from? Some people would lose their pile. They'll lose it, right? And they'd lose it if it happened once. But if it happened more than once, what were you doing? How were you getting yourself ready for this game?
Well, despite the sell now, worry later mantra, I'm actually quite structured.
Yep.
And I know you and I over the years have talked a lot about sort of different planning approaches. But your question on books, I was very... methodical.
Yep.
So what I can tell you, the books that have really set a foundation for me. First one is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
Nice.
Lots of people.
What did that teach you?
Purpose. You imagine being in a concentration camp.
Yep.
Like you're right, just horrible.
Yeah.
Death. Those common theme of those who got through that sort of probably worst possible crisis was they could see forward.
Yeah, they
purpose.
Had a
so they were seeing their family. They were imagining in the future.
Yeah.
So that really struck me. You've got to have a purpose, and I know that's a well-used term, but there was a real practical example.
Yeah,
so on my Friday night, I'm not giving up on my purpose.
Yeah.
The fact that we can't, we'll work out a way.
Yeah, we'll work
that's
out a way.
Sort of a tactic issue. So that's first.
Nice. Great book.
And then you mentioned Sharpening the Saw, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits.
Yeah.
I know that's a bit older now. But
but the guy created a $264 million company.
Incredible.
From some real fundamentals. There'll be books here from that gentleman. He created an amazing the study of high performance
Yep.
and like absolute gift of a man to this world.
Oh, and I thank him because he gave me, I guess, a planning process. So I used to use Covey's planning, which is, I guess, matured into another one now. So that, and then John Kehoe's Mind Power.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Sat in a cabin, and just the key thing I got out, and I went and listened to him actually when he came here, was everything happens twice.
Oh, wow.
So you think about your problem of payroll, if you can visualise a solution, then it actually perpetuates.
Yeah.
So I'm a strong believer in that.
Yeah.
Everything happens twice.
Everything happens twice. I love it. That's a great takeaway from that book.
Yeah, and 2 more. And then, have you heard of the 4 promises?
Nope.
The 4 agreements, sorry.
Oh, the 4 agreements.
Which is written by, I think he's either Spanish or Portuguese speaking gentleman, lives in South American country, but you talked about your team doing the right thing.
Yep.
He talks about, I've got to be impeccable with my word. It's not personal. So just thinking in sales, that rejection, it's not personal to you. Don't assume.
Yeah.
Right? Back to your active listening. You've got to really, you might think you've got a picture, don't assume, because that assumption is where the danger lies. Yeah.
That sounds like a great book.
And then be my best. You've got to be at your best. So I write those 4 things every day.
Wow.
When I do my daily process. So they might, and then a best sort of sales book I could recommend would be Chris Voss, the ex-FBI sort of negotiator. What's it called? Don't Split the Difference.
Don't Split the Difference. It's right there.
Great story. Yeah, great storyteller. Yeah. So so they're my sort of foundation books.
So when you're like reading to really consume you actually, like, I guess, kind of like me, you're taking parts of those books that you can really start to implement in your business, into your mindset. And I think that's one of the keys to when you are reading the information and learning, that you're taking some key takeaways and then starting to implement them into your life. The fact that you saw the future, it's Friday night, but you saw your future and you weren't going to park it there. That's pretty powerful. From like how powerful, like, when you think about the people that were going through what they were going through, for them to be able to see that future, that's pretty powerful. When you consider what they were going through, right?
Absolutely.
Life and death, right?
Absolutely.
So what a cool thing to be able to, I guess, take from a book that it's probably changed millions of people's lives.
Yes.
That book.
Yes.
That's very cool.
No, I've read it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. So you like from that point of view, obviously you're sharpening your mind, what you're doing, and then you get this business this company comes along and says, "Hey, we want to buy you." How does that mindset play out?
Well, there was a lot of water to get to that stage. So as I alluded to before, we started growing, so we were in Australia, then we went to the UK, really high cost to serve. I was flying backwards and forwards every month, so we had a small team on the ground in both Australia, UK and Canada. We ended up getting a statewide rollout in British Columbia.
So you're growing the team?
We got up to about 50 staff.
Who's CEO? You're the CEO?
No. So I was CEO, and then mutually one of our investors was actively involved in the business. Brilliant. And so I concentrated on the sales and marketing, and he had a lot better sort of strategic brain than me, and I really valued him in that role. So we were we had our little bit of I wouldn't call it argy-bargy, but you have your differences, but the letting go was easier than I thought it might have been.
Well, you've got stuff to get on with, right?
That's
you've
it.
got sales and marketing.
And I just loved the getting out there.
So I guess marketing, if you look at the marketing side, what were you kind of doing any like particular marketing, or was it just relationship building?
No, Mark. We did quite a lot of marketing, and it's the classic. As part of our, you've only got X amount of money. What trade shows can we go to? Trying to build awareness and paint a picture of a company bigger than we were, because the market we dealt with were they were dealing with the big Microsofts, IBMs, and little old Emendo, which, you know, might have had 10 people when it started going international, fronting up at a health department. It's
like,
a big
ask.
And it's got risks written all over it. So marketing played a real key role. I think there's a real good takeaway there around helping build the story out. Absolutely goes hand in hand with de-risking the proposition for the customer.
Because it legitimised, the marketing legitimised in other people's eyes. Hey, these guys are here, they're there, we see them everywhere. Like,
so,
wow.
And as they say, when you go, you start with the early adopters, they're interested in the cool technology, Crossing the Chasm, another great book. But when you get to where the money is, they're actually interested in market success. Who's using it? Do you have full support? Are you in market? Are you professional with your documentation, your after sales? All that is a big shift. So part of helping that shift is marketing. Marketing's got a key role. The stories change from look at this cool stuff we're doing to look at the success we've had. Hey, we've won an award. And
cool.
Look what the customer stories, that sort of stuff.
So good.
All
putting it together.
Hand in glove. As you well know, they just go together, particularly in a B2B
and
setting.
I think a lot of people, they miss that opportunity with growing their business because they don't market their business, right? They don't actually go and get known by the success of their clients. You know? They don't have a message that they're consistent on. And so the marketplace never gets to know them.
No, and I often, or as much as possible, any engagement without making sure you keep it genuine is, can we get a case study or something from you? And just do it at the right time and way. And that's where marketing comes in, to tell that story.
Big time.
And if you just get into a habit of every engagement you do's got a story, it's just built, building up your
I think that's a great
war
takeaway.
chest.
Every engagement has a story.
That's it.
And whether you think there's one there or not, there is, right? So every engagement has a story. Every interaction to some degree has a story, right?
Correct.
If you search there's a story to be told. And look, people want to hear stories. They want to hear war stories. They want to hear good stories.
Make it real.
They want to hear bad stories.
Make it real.
Make it real. Which is, and also people, always say people want to buy from people they know, like, and trust, right? So how do you build trust? Well, you build character. How do you get known? You build character. How do you get liked? Well, you build chemistry. And how do you build trust? You build credibility. Or you demonstrate credibility, actually. And I think that's a big thing in that whole storytelling part. Even like a simple case study. It can, once again, people get to know you, like you, and trust you via your clients. And someone already using you.
And just to
someone
bring
already
in,
having wins.
That's it. And the other side of that story was I also, where possible, would build a relationship so that if a potential prospect wants to talk to someone, so they see the story in writing with you, they can even go to the real person. And we're confident enough to go, what customer do you want us to talk to?
I love that too. Like,
it's like
I hand my phone over. Call one of those people. And they look at me like, well, let's call one of them.
I'm
really going to say we did a really good job or we're rubbish. Either way, you're going to find out.
That's correct.
Because at the end of the day, you're trying to give people confidence, right?
And if you're a legitimate quality business, you should be confident that you're going to deliver. And if you don't, front up to where you haven't, and then what you've done to learn from it.
Totally.
Because I've had some big failures.
Let's talk about some of those. What were some of your biggest failures?
Right. Well, post Emendo exit. Actually, I didn't tell you. Can I just digress for a bit? You asked me about the exit. So we were. I won't labour it, but so we needed more capital. So we started looking at the US, and I'm sitting in some bar with the Fortune 8 company, McKesson. So big pharmaceutical distributor with a wee sort of $3 billion health IT business on the side, which they've since divested. But and the president leans over behind me and says, "Nick, would you be interested in acquisition?" And I'm sitting there with my heart pumping out here. And first reaction was, "Yeah, Scott, we'd have a look at that."
Yeah.
And that was how the conversation started.
And were you doing business with them? Did they know you?
We were getting to know each other. No, we weren't doing business.
Yep.
And we were actually after looking for capital with the potential of an exit.
Yep.
And
what you were doing, did it fit their model?
Absolutely.
Yep. So
they'd tried to do what we'd done, and they'd put as those big companies, and they put a few million into trying to do that.
Yeah.
And then realised, well, let's buy, and there's a big lesson, make versus buy. If it's in the market,
well, they got a head start.
Seriously consider buying. No matter what you're doing, as opposed to we can make our own, because you can spend a lot of money wasting, like Emendo did. We put a lot of money into BI when there were BI tools already in the market. One of my big lessons, we should have bolted them on. Sorry, I digress.
No. So from the lean in the conversation to the sale, how long did that take?
18 months.
18 months.
So one, the New Zealand location. Two, there were just things we weren't aware of, but that was the longest ride of my life.
Yeah.
Just silence. The buyer's lament.
Yeah.
The old real estate thing about you got to get the buyer pretty early because big purchase. Silence is not golden. It's the longer it goes, the higher the likelihood of failure. So we had long periods of silence, and you don't want to be desperate. All of that game.
Were you trying to be business as usual
as
well, right?
Yes, and that was tough, and cash impacted our cash flow. No, I remember I had to nail a hospital sale in Western Australia to plug a big gap. And so on a Friday night we're having a barbecue round at my in-laws, and I'm taking phone calls 5 hours, behind in Perth, Australia, doing a deal. Getting across the line. What we had to. That's what you did.
No.
So, but ultimately it ended up well with a trade sale, and they continued. They've since divested here.
What were you most proud of when it comes to that?
Look, just the building something. Making a difference. We had a share scheme, so everyone got something out of it.
Brilliant.
It's got to be team. And the fact that my little sort of vision came to something. The napkin in Brisbane.
The napkin was worth a few bucks.
Came to something. So
it's been awesome too, though, to play like family back. Like that would have been a pretty.
No,
cool.
we've had some good times, maybe 2 good times. But our family, we travelled together a lot. And my wife just put up with Donna put up with so much. And,
good to pay her back, right?
Absolutely, but no, I'm grateful for that journey.
So good.
Yeah.
Well done. I know parts of what you went through, and having some of those conversations throughout the years, and like you were definitely, hand on heart, you're right in there, working to make it happen, right?
I was holding on.
No,
I held on for the ride, and I know. Look, I've got some friends in the industry who've been through exits as well, and they talk about that. But it's sort of like it's your biggest sale, right?
Yeah.
So
totally.
You've just got to hang on in there.
Yeah. Well done. That's so good. What about some of the failures then? Let's have a
look. So post that, I couldn't help myself but get involved financially in some businesses, and I've got some small shareholdings, and I put a larger amount, as my wife reminds me. We could have bought a rental into a business, and it failed. lost the lot.
Yeah.
And
I really believe that you do learn more from your losses than your wins.
Well,
and so what are some of the biggest wins, like learnings there?
Well, learning and this might sound a bit obvious, but when you get emotionally attached to something, always get someone who isn't to validate it.
Nice. Yeah.
And I didn't do that. I made a unilateral, sort of like my jumping off and starting the business. I made a unilateral decision to invest. And if I'd maybe, yes, we did do due diligence, don't get me wrong, but if we'd...
You'd sold yourself.
Yeah. If I'd maybe got someone else to have a look, we might have had a different result. So that was definitely... what I did do was get involved, and I will always continue to do that. That's just me. I'm hands-on, and I think there's value in that. But knowing the learning from that is knowing what you're not good at. True. And so, if I can help with the growth side, I absolutely will. But don't get me involved in software development, for example.
Yes.
So. I still, and the other bit is just don't be too hard on yourself. So I still remind myself of that failure. So I still haven't let it go, but I've mellowed a lot, shall we say?
I guess like anything, it sits. What they say about the All Blacks, when they lose the last game of the year, they might have won all the games of the year. They lose the last one, it sits on the line on the beach. There's a bit of a rock there. It's human nature to feel a bit, despite all the other good things that you did, right, for 8 years.
Which brings me on to, talking about habits, is just being grateful. And just, I've got into the habit, might be a bit weird for some people, but in the shower. Every day I'll huff and puff about what's annoying me. I'll label it. And then bang, I'm into, right, what's great. We live in New Zealand. We've got wonderful families. I know wonderful people. I've got flexibility. We travel. I could rattle on. Blah, 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 blah,
so
blah.
Good.
We're great food, Air, clear,
And until you actually realise that, you can be really down on some things. But it's crazy. I've been going through some things at the moment around. There's a sewer cycle and a success cycle. On a sewer cycle, you might let doubt creep in. You might have a negative comment or a negative feeling come in. And okay, well, if you continue down that path, you're into the sewer, right? Or there's a success cycle where you can snap yourself out of it and go, you know what, I am this, I am this, we are doing this, All of a sudden your emotions, your well-being, all of a sudden comes up and you're a different type of person. Same with being grateful. When you start to look at what you have got versus what you haven't got, because there's always someone in a worse position too, right? Like, crikey.
Absolutely.
How grateful are you to get that lesson about, the next time you invest, what are you going to do? You're going to have someone else check the emotional attachment to it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, your just comment there about the sort of negative, positive energy, I really like that. It's I think, and it manifests. You've got a choice which way you're going to go.
Massive choice.
It builds, and do you want to build a hole or do you want to fly?
Totally. And it's what you are talking to yourself or allowing from an outside. You can easily go to the sewer. You can easily get caught up in like a low value activity. Listening to what someone else is saying about someone else. Well, hang on, is that helping you go from your A, where you are, to the B, where you want to go? One of the things I really learned about going to B is having because goals. I think that's really, really interesting, because if you have because goals, say you want to do X amount of dollars in a company, and maybe it's you want to get to 10 million. Or maybe you want to serve 60 new clients. Okay, well, that's a goal, but write some because goals of it, because we want to serve 60 new clients because it'll actually help us help more families.
That's it.
More kids can
the
go.
Why comes in.
And it's because, and I really like the fact that I've always looked at goals, but then someone said, "Well, look at because goals," and I really made me change my thinking around it.
And funny you talk about goals. I don't set annual goals. I set 90-day goals. And remember you and you actually got me onto that some years ago, and I've really I'm not saying annual goals are wrong.
No.
But if it's sort of back to that discussion we're having about having capital, a lot of capital and being comfortable. A long goal, it may not, unless it's really, you're on it, I've got a year.
Yeah.
90 days is about action.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can break that down even more.
Oh, well, so what I do is I've got that 13-week sort of planner.
Yeah.
I use Best Self.
Yep.
And I used to carry around a paper version of it, but now it's on here, template on here, and so I'm looking at what I want to achieve in 3 key areas over 90 days.
Very cool.
And then what's going to drive it, and then I do weekly. On a Sunday I'll have a nice craft gin or beer sitting there, and I'll sit for an hour and plan and review and plan my week.
Yeah, it's no mistake, right?
Break it down to a week, and then every day in the morning I'm doing the detail of what I'm planning for today, and then in the evening I'm writing some what went well, what didn't, what I'm grateful about, and then just giving a wireframe for the next day.
Nice.
And then I can go to bed with that all sort of done.
Has that really helped your your sleeping as well? Because I know a lot of people come to me and say, you get a lot of stuff done. How do you do it? Well, I write a lot of stuff down.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So it allows you to sleep, right?
Absolutely. And I must admit, and sleeping would be yes, I go to bed ready to sleep, but sleeping's one of my weaknesses, I guess.
Yep.
Because I'm waking up, and I'll have to write something down.
Yeah.
So you've heard the old mantra, have something by the bed, all that stuff. But no, I do absolutely try to dump as much as I can to help facilitate sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. So what are you doing now? Like, what are you're actually helping?
Yeah. So my whole purpose is about building competence. So growth through sales.
Yep.
Right.
So do you look at, are you helping software companies?
Yep.
Are you helping what's
I've done some corporate stuff.
Nice.
Startups, which predominantly is sort of through some of the free sort of mentoring type support that's available. My sweet spot is growth companies.
Yep. So would you say you're a mentor? Or,
I would say coach, fractional chief revenue officer is sort of for a larger company that might want to engage, for a specific project or over time.
Yep.
So it's a real mixed bag, and I'm looking at sort of planning, but the execution piece. So I'm real hands-on. Yeah. So last gig I did recently, I was actually hands-on selling. Getting out, selling to a council, to a utility. Right. So I'm not the theorist. Yeah. There's a lot of people who will give you a plan.
You're like in there.
And
how do you do you take a cut of the company, or do they just take
but all of the above.
That's awesome.
Yep, just depending on the arrangement. And growth through sales, the word growth is in 2 areas. It's not only the sales growth, but it's also personal growth. So I put a lot of energy into building people's competence.
Yep.
And getting over the fear. That side of it. And then if they're competent, then they're confident.
Yeah.
And if you're confident, you're going to do stuff that you just wouldn't do.
No, exactly. But also, having someone in your corner that's done that, right? That's hugely valuable, right? Because a lot of people are trying to do it by themselves, which you kind of did, right? But now you're coming along. You had a mentor. Now you are helping other businesses get to where they want to go. That's pretty exciting. Yeah. What do you see some of the opportunities coming up? Are you still in the health space as well?
Yeah, I'm actually spending some time at the Health Tech Centre, which is out of the Arts Centre. Oh, wow. It's a great area, and it's great just seeing over the work they've done over the last few months, the residency building there. And we're just working on a way of providing to support some of the early and growth stage companies that are in there, and including advisory board type stuff. So a bit of the governance, exposing companies to governance.
And do you help with that?
Yep, absolutely. And then just in the broader market, we've got a great tech sector here in Christchurch.
I was just going to say that. We have got a great tech sector here.
I've just been working for an awesome environmental tech company that I think are gonna go places. There's just,
what do you think makes the like Christchurch or even New Zealand people? What are the tech? So is it because we're so far away? We have to create things that
perfect market to test.
Yeah,
we've got a spread out population. Only one big city over 1 million. That said, we are a first world country, so we've got reasonable, and
if you've got an idea, you can actually have a crack.
That's
it.
That's it.
Yeah,
and relatively easy to set up a business.
Yeah. Oh, compared to some other countries in the world.
Yeah, I know it's got a wee bit more complex with anti-money laundering and all of that these days, but
nothing compared
nothing.
to
No. So ease of that, and I think Kiwis are just great people in general.
Yeah.
They don't.
Especially in that business environment. I find, and it's really interesting. I do find the business environment quite supportive.
Yeah.
Compared to some of the other environments in New Zealand, like business owners will stick together.
They will,
and help each
and
other
be optimistic and not knock people down as can be another.
If they see someone having a go, they're like, "Hey, awesome!" They really do.
Yeah.
Because they know the whacking and the cracking, right? And they understand. That's kind of why I put the podcast together. Because I wanted to talk to smart people like yourself, but also wanted to share stories so people could see that there's a community out there of business owners that really helping each other.
Here we've got Ministry of Awesome, who's doing awesome stuff. Excuse the pun. Canterbury Tech. I mean, that's been around. That used to be a tech cluster. Now it holds the largest tech event in the country.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's top notch.
Yeah, so good.
In good old Christchurch.
We're definitely punching. All right, I'm going to be on the spot and I love doing this, and definitely the community that we here love this. If you were starting you're involved in a tech company, say you get invited to come into a tech company, what are the 5 things you would do to actually get that tech company, really making waves internationally?
Right. Okay. And you have put me on the spot. First thing, the market is key.
Okay.
Absolutely key.
Yeah, understanding the market.
But not being anal about it, but just making sure there is a market. Because I see a lot of founders are so in love with their products, and they just keep going, and the market's saying no.
Yeah. So how do they find that out?
Yeah, that it is a bit of talking to people.
I find that's the thing they don't do.
No, because they might be scared.
Because I say to people, hey, go and talk to 10 people that can.
What about safe?
Yeah.
Go to your own environment, e.g. Facebook or LinkedIn, and maybe a small group within LinkedIn, and go, what do you think? Yeah. People that you are connected with. Yeah. I mean, that's a classic, easy thing to do. Yeah. It's like that warmly,
Well, people who can and would want to buy your product, go and talk to them.
Yep.
And if they start saying, "Oh yeah, I'd like to buy that," cool, get an order form. I reckon having an order form is probably.
Yeah, and then the danger there is that you get, and you would know this. People say, "Yes, I'm going to do that," but then only X% do the action.
That's why you should have an order form.
Yeah, I agree with you. So the next thing there is your first client or clients are so critical. Yeah. So put your energy. You hear the story of Airbnb. Yeah. He was in San Francisco. They were starting in New York.
Yeah.
His investor said, "Get your ass to New York and stay in your." And so he stayed in the first few Airbnb places that they had on the market, just to really understand. Yeah. So really get close and tight. That would be, and the next thing is 50% is good enough with the product. Yeah. That'd be my third thing.
Yeah, it's good enough.
Because if you keep going, you're gonna just get the damn thing out there. Yeah. With the whole agile thing these days. Yeah. Get 1 or 2 really cool bits out there. Yeah. Then build on that.
Do you think? Because I have talked to a number of businesses about this, and they are, to some degree, they actually don't. One of the reasons they don't do that, put the 50% out there, is they don't actually want the feedback. because it's quite nice doing the whacking and cracking over here.
Yes.
But they don't actually want to go to the marketplace because actually, the marketplace might say, you know what, that sucks, or that's a great idea. You should do that.
Well, are you serious about success? I mean, and you asked the question in the global sense. The offshore markets are so much more grown up, to use that term.
Yeah.
You take America, it's just, you've been there a lot.
Yeah.
You've got to be on your game, right? It's just so you'll get spat out.
Yeah. So that's a good mindset to take people. 50% is good enough. Have a minimal viable product. Have a couple of things that are a bit different.
Yeah.
That people go, oh, this is good. You know?
And I would be looking at a way of doing a deal with my first customers where they benefit more than just what the product's doing.
Nice.
So think back to what I was telling you about Canterbury DHB.
Yeah.
We paid them back.
Yeah.
Right?
Awesome. Yeah. Use the product plus pay them back.
Recognise this as early stage. I'll de-risk it for you. You come on the journey with us. And it might be you can't afford to pay them back for some time, but that's okay.
That's okay.
And I just think if you can get that, again, it's reinforcing that startup, getting really close with your early customers.
Yeah, getting close.
They will help you grow.
That's awesome. Getting close to your early customers. Would that be 4?
Yeah, I'm sure I can come up with more than 5. A lot of people wouldn't do this, but I would. If you believe in it, you'll use your own money.
Yep. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
I have so many people have an idea.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm thinking, cap in hand.
Yeah. Believe in it.
If you believe in it,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit might come across reckless, but I was prepared to risk it all because I believed in.
Yeah.
I knew there was a market though. Back to that.
Well, there's a guy over there, Traffic Secrets by Russell Bronson. He created $100 million company, and he's really proud. There's no VC funding. He grew it through sales. He grew it through his community. He grew it through, and I think he's invested in his. It is quite interesting to hear and talk to business owners, and you hear them. Well, they're starting up in that space, and they've obviously been sold the journey of get the investors in and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
but
No, and I've I just had
use your own money. I like it.
Yeah, and I mean that at the start. At some point, you may not have the resources, but it's just a great signal.
Yeah,
and your motivations, and you'll be sharper for it.
Yeah, I think that's really important when you're going out there and selling it too. Yeah. Like you probably should be going out and selling it yourself to some degree. Like
the best salesperson is the founder.
Yeah, and get work on it. I was telling a company the other day, you need to work on your pitch. You actually need to get this down.
Yeah,
and then you need to go and talk to some people that could give you money.
And so, can I just come back to clean sheet selling?
Yes,
because you've just prompted that. This might sound counterintuitive, but I think it can. Don't over prepare.
Yeah.
So if you're really confident in your own solution, well, you should be because it's yours.
Yeah.
Don't put your energy into that. Put your energy into the audience.
The listening. Yeah.
And I learned the hard way where I forgot my laptop and had to go into a meeting.
Yeah.
And just talk to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ask questions. Be curious. Yeah. And again, the more you do that, the easier you get. And you will find out all this stuff. And because you know your stuff, you can, with that context, you're more likely to be able to position your solution more effectively than shoving it down someone's throat.
Yeah.
A lot of sort of, I guess, early stage companies do the opposite. Yeah. They've got something new and cool, they want to show it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they want to show it more than actually understand what the person or the company.
So I would be investing in some time to, as I say, understand my potential customer base by talking to them.
By talking to them
before you sell. So the demo shouldn't be, unless it's a a less complex product or a B2C thing that you could buy online, demos should come halfway or later in the process, not at the start.
Not at the start. Yeah, because you've kind of lost the point then.
Correct.
Right?
You don't know enough about them.
No, you don't know enough about them.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to fit them into that hole.
That's
and
it.
It's not
That's
a
it.
square peg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clean sheet selling. That's very, very cool. Mate, look, when I look back at that, there's some really good, really know your market, right? If you're going into that, really understand, is there a market there? Be really, I guess to some degree, I guess you have to take your cap off and go, okay, let's be real. Is there a market here? I really like what you said about, your first clients are crucial, and getting close to them is really important. 50% is good enough. I think that's for me. I've seen companies fail because they had to get to 100%.
Yep. I can tell you a story of someone who put $500,000 into a brilliant product, never sold one.
Yeah.
Didn't do the sales bit.
Yeah.
Didn't, and I don't mean snake oil sales,
No.
but didn't talk to the market.
Didn't talk to the market.
Yeah.
And you're just building it, getting it ready. And there's plenty of businesses getting it ready. So if you're in that situation, or you know someone in that situation, you make sure they connect with Nick, and we'll have all his details at the end of this as well. I think what you said about making them part of the product was really interesting. That's a really good mindset. What you did with the DHB there, that's very clever. Because it kind of locked them in.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, they're invested because they want their money back.
That's right.
So they're going to tell you a good story as long as you're doing a good job. They're going to be promoting you as well, right?
Absolutely. You've got to. It's not about lying.
No. No, but you had a partner that was really invested.
Fantastic partner.
Yeah.
And we had other fantastic early stage customers offshore as well that helped us grow. So
and putting in your own money. There's nothing like for me personally. We just know that there's nothing.
Yeah, well,
I own the company. I've got a business partner. We own the company.
Yeah.
We put our own money, but we also deal with business owners who've got their own money in the game too. And I think we really care about that. Like, it's become something for us, is we take it really personal, and that we are dealing with family businesses. We don't actually deal with corporates, So we deal with family businesses, and those family businesses are sending their kids to school. The part of the community, and it's real important to us that we are, that's who we help, and we're quite proud of it too.
Yeah,
like
I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey Nick, this has been a fantastic conversation. We've been going over an hour now. Just to wrap this up, is there anything else that you'd want to share? I know you're a deep thinker, and I'm sure you've got another piece of wisdom there that you'd like to share before we leave.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to the habits thing, and just and you would have done lots of reading, and sure others. There's something about habits, even if. No matter what type of person you are, I just can't underestimate the power of habits to the extent, I do things like, if I throw out a couple of other things, cognitive. I use a app called Elevate. I've got no interest in it, financial interest in it, by the way. I just train my brain. So I'm doing maths exercises, cool. I'm doing reading, comprehension, speaking.
Nice.
One I love is where it throws a whole lot of stuff at you and then gets you to repeat it in the order. So listening, all of that sort of stuff. And it's That's gamified.
Cool. Yeah.
I have been doing that for over 300 days.
Oh, wow.
So it tells you off when you haven't done it and rewards you when you have.
Nice.
So my goal's I'm going to do it a year without fail.
Yep.
So I'm on 300 at the moment.
Brilliant.
And then another, I know you do Audible.
Yep.
I use Headway.
Yep.
Every day I'm learning something.
Yep.
So that's just one thing.
Yeah.
And so I listen to it. I cheat a bit and I listen on 1.5 speed.
Oh, fully.
And I write it down. And it only takes me 7-8 minutes,
Yep.
and I've got a book, and then the next morning I'll have a quick look at it to just grab one point out of it. Continual learning. And
I reckon
know you're right.
that is the key, right? Like, I was talking to someone this morning about it. He was looking at my books, and I said, "Oh, do you read books?" He goes, "Yeah, I don't make too much time."
That's it. Yeah.
I said, "Well, here's what I do. If I've got a book, I'll read the chapter."
Yep.
You commit to the chapter.
Yep.
So if you got to, if you're opening up, if you're reading the book today, you read the chapter.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh yeah, I could do that. And I said, of course you can. Like, just commit to a chapter. Don't open. If you open the book, you commit to a chapter.
Yeah.
And also then part of habits is I leave the book on the bed. So when I go to bed, the book's there.
Yeah.
Read a chapter.
Yeah.
I've got my audio books playing, and when I go to the gym and all that sort of stuff. And those continuous learning is because I just really believe you can learn so much from other people. The cool thing about our game is we get to implement it.
That's it.
So I'm learning stuff yesterday, which
Absolutely.
I'm teaching my staff
Isn't that
today,
cool?
right? You know, and my staff are going to be better for it, right?
Yep.
You know, like it's all that growth. And, you know.
Yeah. So no, and just for those who are structured, I actually tick off and put a cross when I miss one of my habits.
Nice.
You know, I run
I saw that in that.
3 times a week. So I'm measuring that. I'm measuring the quality of my sleep, and just and I'm not spending lots of time on it. But that, just having that, knowing I'm doing it. Oh, I haven't done that. It's actually forcing me to do things.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So, and one last plug, if I can, is with the help of some others, set up a tech sales meetup here in Christchurch.
Cool.
So we're just about to have our third one, 28th of Feb. So I've posted that on my LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do is part of the podcast is we'll have some links to that. So if you share that,
so I'd love to get people along. It's totally free, bit of networking. We're going to learn, and it's just about growth through sales, both personal growth and learning how to sell more effectively.
Well, that's perfect. And I love what you're saying about that. The things that you're doing there. One of our core values, the theme for this year is about being intentional, and a lot of that is about being intentional with how you want to run your life and how you want to show up in the world. You know. Nick, this has been a great conversation. Where do people get hold of you? What's the best way for people to get hold of you?
Check me out on LinkedIn. And I'll give you my email address actually.
Perfect. Well, we'll put it in the show notes. And people can contact you. I think for you, you'd really enjoy talking to people that are in that kind of growth phase of their business.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep. So if you are in that phase and you want to have a chat or you want to come along to Nick's sales meetup, the tech sales meetup, make sure you get along and connect with Nick. He is, as you would have already heard, a world of knowledge in this, I guess, business space, but also, he's a genuine person that really wants to help people. So I really appreciate your time, Nick.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great conversation. It's gone fast, but hey. Everyone, really appreciate you listening to the Marketing for Business podcast. Once again, we're getting some fantastic downloads. People are really enjoying it. The feedback that we're getting is sensational. So all I ask is you share this podcast today. Share it with someone who needs to grow their business, someone who needs to maybe learn a few things about some of those books that Nick mentioned and could really start to help them grow their business. So appreciate your time. And as always, have fun and take action.